Every single person in this world has a story to share. Your story is your superpower, and it's unique to you. In sharing it with the world, you can impact millions of people. If you keep it to yourself, you are doing the world a disservice. This is Dela. I'm the host of Dela's Voice, and I help you share your superpower with the world.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dela's Voice. What an absolute pleasure to be here with you today again. Once again, I get to hear from fantastic human beings, entrepreneurs, difference makers, people who positively impact the world on a daily basis. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that might hit a lot of people really close to their heart. I read in a survey done by Gallup that 85% of people who are employed are not engaged in their work, which basically means that they're unhappy. Now, that's a really sad statistics. And if you're one of those people or you know someone who is a part of that statistics, you want to listen up to today's show because you are not stuck. And we're going to hear from an expert on how you can change your situation and find your dream job. I'm going to bring on our expert today. His name is Joseph Stetter. Joseph is a career coach. He is an advisor in the job market. He's been doing this for over 2 decades. He's written books and books and books on this topic. He's 11,000 people he's helped so far to find their dream job. And so he is the right person to talk about this topic today. So I'm going to bring on Joseph. So please help me welcome Joseph Stetter on the show. And please help us make this an engaging conversation. You know, just be with us with your comments. Give us questions. He'll address them. Use this opportunity to get some questions answered. And so here is our expert, Joseph Stetter, on the show. Hello.
Hello, Dela. Thank you again for having me on your show. I'm so excited. What a fantastic show. I've watched the episodes and love what you're doing and sharing this message. And my purpose is to help people kind of figure out what's going on and how to get to that dream job.
Thank you. That is a great purpose, Joseph. And I mean, you've helped so many people. What did you think of that statistics that I gave? Does that kind of seem out of line?
Actually, depending on who you read, I know Gallup is very reliable, but it goes up as high as 90%.
Wow.
The fact of the matter, and here's the interesting part. Salary is actually number 7 on the reasons why people hate their job or leave their job. The number one reason that people leave their job is because of the way that they're treated. And, you know, we are in a very unique circumstance right now that because of COVID, a lot of people were forced out of their job and are now very stressed and very anxious because they're not getting responses. They're not getting a job. But realistically, most people do the same things. They make the same mistakes. And that's why they're stuck and they're not going anywhere. And my hope today is to share as much information and give people kind of nuggets of wisdom and aha moments to kind of go, oh, wait, I should do this, or I haven't done this. And this is where it kind of comes in from.
I think about someone not being happy in their job and not feeling fulfilled in their job. And I can't help but wonder, it's sometimes it's not just the job that is a bad job. It's just that it's not the right job for you per se. And someone else might get that job and they'll be totally happy in that job.
Listen, I've experienced that myself. I mean, part of my, we'll call it path to becoming this expert is that I didn't know what I want to do when I grew up. So I've switched careers 9 times. Started with, working in finance because my parents wanted me to have like a steady, secure job. You couldn't pay me $1 million to ever work in a bank again. But I know people that love working in a bank. Personally, I felt like I was in prison. So I've switched careers 9 times and jobs 18 times. I've worked in the recruitment industry for nearly 20 years. I've recruited for companies like Deloitte & Touche, Tata Consulting Services, IBM, Aecon Construction, Apotex Pharmaceuticals. And then on top of that, I've written 6 books on how to find a job. And I've personally had the pleasure and the honor of helping over 11,000 people find a job. The fastest I've helped somebody find a job is 2 days. And on average, I have a 90% success rate of getting anybody employment in any field in under kind of 3 months. Usually it's about a month and a half if they kind of do their homework and follow the systems, because finding a job is a lot easier than people think. And finding a job that you love is, even if you love the industry, you can always find a better version of it. Like, my father, God rest his soul, worked in civil construction for 45 years. Every time I talked to him about the profession of the industry, he would light up. He would be excited about it. But, sometimes he had bosses that were driving him bananas. And at a certain point in life, he chose to sacrifice some of his own happiness to provide for the family. And I respect and admire that about my father. But there's a level where I don't say, it's not about quit your job and look. It's be strategic in how you look. And don't waste your time doing things that don't serve you.
What I wanted to ask you, first of all, how come you started this career? Like that, there must be a backstory to this. I'm pretty sure there is, of why you started.
I kind of alluded to it a little bit. When I basically finished university, my parents were very like, go do this, go do this. So to please the parents, I did. And somewhere along the lines, I either got bored, I felt like this is not for me. And so I was willing to take that leap of faith to try something else. So I've worked in finance, in sales, in marketing, customer service, operations, in private education as an entrepreneur, in regular education. So I kind of experienced a little bit of everything, and putting all that together, I kind of went, I think this is the biggest problem. I've been to interviews that, like, one of my favorite stories, let's say, in that is when I was working as a stock trader, I was interviewing with one of the big banks. 3 questions into the interview, I was so annoyed with my interview. I turned around to him and said, stop, you're asking me the wrong questions. If you want to know if I can do this job, you need to ask me the following question. I took out a pen and paper and I wrote down about 10 to 15 questions, and I kind of slammed the paper and sent it to her. And we had kind of a staring contest for a minute and a half where she looked at me like, did you just tell me how to do my job? And I was like, look at the questions. And after a minute and a half, she finally looked down, looked at me like, who are you? Looked at my questions again and said, okay, you're hired. I need to hire 25 more people. Can I use your questions? So that was kind of the beginning of it. And in the process of me, as I mentioned, coaching 11,000 people, I worked for an outplacement firm in the US called Allen Associates. And within 3 months of working there, I rewrote their career service manual, because apparently I had some like my candidates that I was selling the packages were getting hired faster and better than anybody else. And they're like, how come? I said, because I'm using my system, not yours. And they were like, okay, share your system with us, or share aspects of your system. And that was kind of what led to my passion to kind of help people see that there's always hope, there's always opportunity, and you need to know where to look and how to look for the opportunity.
What in your opinion, Joe? What are some reasons why people are unhappy in their jobs, and why are they stuck?
Because we are creatures of habit. That's the first answer in terms of why we're stuck. Most of the population is afraid to actually implement change because they have a routine, right? And if I may share a quick little story about that. So again, when I left the banking institution and I got into recruiting, I called 37 people that worked with me, that had lunch with me or coffee with me. And every single day, they complained about how much they hate it there, how miserable they are, how much, the management's horrible and they micromanage and yell at them and stuff like that. And when I became a recruiter, one of my first clients was E-Trade Canada. And I called these 37 people on their private cell phone at home on the weekend and said, since I know you, since you're licensed, right, I will give you an $8,000 raise, double the bonuses you're getting, better benefits. And instead of working in kind of Mississauga, you'll work in downtown Toronto. And since I know you do shift work, if you work from 9 to 5, I'll schedule you to come and shake hands at 8 o'clock at night. If you work from 11 to 8, I'll schedule it at 7 in the morning so that you don't miss a single hour of work, right? And we're talking about people at the time that were making $40,000, $45,000 a salary. And I basically offered them a $40,000 raise on a silver platter. Care to guess out of 37, how many actually went?
How many?
One.
Not surprised.
And this is where, I don't know if you ever read the book from Spencer Johnson called Who Moved My Cheese, right? It hem and haw, like, oh, you know what? I got used to, like, I have the shift that I like here. I got used to taking a nap on the bus on the way home. I was like, so a nap is worth more to you than doubling what you're making right now. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
What if I get fired because I screw up? What if I'm like, you're licensed, you're going to be using the exact same software, doing the exact same work. So why would you get fired? But people have this fear that, they're incapable. People have this there. Most people are miserable in jobs because nobody recognizes them. They've been passed up for promotions over and over again when they feel like they're the best person. Their ideas to kind of improve or progress have been dismissed or stolen by their supervisor, and so they didn't get any credit. They've stopped learning anything. There's an adage in English that says, the moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. And most people are mentally dead. So even in their job, they're like, okay, routine. And they're not thinking about, wait, let me think about, okay, like, how can I improve this process? How can I change it? And even if they have, they've been shut down or dismissed so many times that they've just kind of given up saying anything. And so it's just easier to stay at the devil versus the devil you don't. It's just easier to stay where you are than trying something new.
And you hear this, like someone, so I'll say, how's work? And they'll be like, work is work. It's just a job. And I feel like it's so sad, Joe, because we spend so much of our time working. And so how wonderful would it be to actually enjoy what you're doing, to feel productive and fulfilled? And a lot of people say, well, that's your career. It has nothing to do with your family life. But I feel like they're all interconnected, because if you're not satisfied in one, you won't feel satisfied in the other.
It's connecting the mind, the body, and the spirit all together. And it's a level where, again, I respect someone that says, you know what, I have to sacrifice and work this hard because I'm giving my family an opportunity. You know what? Kudos to you. But even, let's say, to become an entrepreneur, most people, when they think of entrepreneur, go, oh my God, I have to manage a Fortune 500 company. That's so overwhelming for me. And like when I coach people on job hunt, I say, listen, if you're a musician, for example, and you get 1 gig a month that pays you $100, you will probably appreciate that gig for $100, and that $100 more than your entire salary for the month. So start with baby steps, like do it once a month. So if you have a passion for, like just like Dela's voice, people sharing their story, people sharing their expertise, right? So you have a passion for people to share their story. Okay, start an hour a day or an hour a week and just start. And as you kind of see that you're doing well in it, you're successful in that, those fears that you'll fail, those fears that, you can kind of take on more. And as you take on more, you're like, wait, I finished my job. Now I can do this, which I'm so excited about.
Yes.
Most people kind of do an all or nothing. And that's the biggest problem for them. It's like, if I do this, it has to be like this. No, it's like, you can still have your day job that pays the bills, and very important to do so. And then start slowly kind of going, okay, I want to do this. So you know what? My message is this. Let me talk to people in my community, right? Just have a conversation with them. Do my market research on what they're interested in, what they want to learn, and start from there. And, if it works, okay, sell it, or, do a few for free so that you have a track record, you can get some testimonials, and then say, okay, I'm charging $50 for this service. I'm charging $100. I'm charging $200 relative to what the market or the expertise that you have is, right? This is where most people kind of get stuck and go, whoa, 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 whoa. You want me to go on my own, but what if I don't make a paycheck every 2 weeks? What if it's, again, I didn't say quit your job. I said, start slowly, make money, because that money that you're making can help with your lifestyle. Because if you make, let's say, an extra $2,000 a month, that could be a vacation.
Yes.
That you're getting. And that's your incentive to do it. That could be that, purse or shoes or, that you've always wanted, or the
know how to
iPhone.
talk to a woman, Joe. You know how to talk to a woman.
I tried, right? Or that latest iPhone that you want to buy that costs $1,500.
Yes.
But it's that mindset of so most people operate, when I have this, I will do this and I will be this. Except that this is a one day, someday in the future that never happens.
Yes.
If you start being, let's say, wealthy and doing things that wealthy people do, you will have wealth. Meaning you take your paycheck and you go, I'm going to put $25 per paycheck aside, whatever amount you want. All of a sudden you look in your account 3-4 months, you're like, oh, I have a few $100s. I can buy this thing that I've been eyeing for a while, but I couldn't afford because I have bills to pay and I have this to that. So it's that mindset of transitioning between, I can't do this because this, and then, listen, it's no different from job finding. Sadly, the majority of people spend most of their time looking for jobs online. They use Indeed, Career Builder, Glassdoor. Here's the statistics that most people don't understand. Before COVID, Indeed, which is the largest database for job finding, had 40 million users. On average, one job posting was getting between 350 and 5,000 applicants.
Wow.
Right? Most employers look at the first 100. So no wonder you're not getting a response. Now that COVID hit, according to multiple news reports, about 60 to 65 million people lost their job, which means instead of 350 to 5,000, now you're competing with 1,500 to, let's say, 15,000 people for the same job posting. Now, here's a few other things to understand. Most people that, let's say, post their job or their resume on Indeed, if they don't know some of the tricks to get to be noticed on Indeed, if you posted your resume, let's say in April when COVID really hit and everything was locked down, and you didn't touch your resume, you're probably on page 3,200. No one's ever going to see your resume. But the big databases like Indeed, Glassdoor, Career Builder, all those, they refresh their database daily between 11:45 p.m. and 2:45 a.m. So before you go to bed, Eastern Standard Time, so before you go to bed, go in anywhere in your resume, for example, and press spacebar and save it. The moment that you press spacebar, you've made a change to your resume, so now it's a new, fresh resume. So the database has a better chance of catching your resume because all you did was press spacebar and save it, right?
Wow, I hope you know this is gold right now.
Well, like I said, I'm trying to give there. The other thing that is a big mistake where most people do is to kind of look and go, okay, for example, most people have been taught to write the cookie cutter generic resume that says, for example, you're hardworking, dedicated, committed, team player, have excellent communication skills. In 20 years of recruiting, I've met very few people that say, listen, I'm lazy, I'll show up late, none of my work will be any good, and I really hate people. Please hire me. Not unless you're related to them or having an affair with them that you can kind of get away with that. So stop filling your resume with those words because the job description has them, because every job description has them, but that doesn't mean customizing your resume. The other thing that we've been taught very incorrectly is that when you write a resume, most people kind of write the action words: managed, directed, liaised, communicated. But they give me a generic example. So I always use this example because most people laugh when I give this example. If somebody's applying to be a receptionist or an administrative assistant, and they tell the potential employer they know how to answer the phone, a potential employer should look at them in shock and go, really? A receptionist that knows how to answer the phone? We did not know that. Because unless you live in an igloo, a cave, or a Mennonite, chances are you know how to press the green button and go, hello, how can I help you? But if you studied or you've worked as an administrative assistant and you know how to answer 60 calls a day with 12 different lines, I can measure 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I cannot measure I know how to answer the phone. The majority of the population writes, I know how to do this. Who cares if you know how to do it? I want to know how good you are at it. I want to know the results that you produce that are better, different, or other than everybody else that's in the same field as you. So if, let's say, you're an accountant and you tell me you know how to do financial statements, have you met one accountant that does not know how to do financial statements? And if you have, they're not an accountant, because everybody knows how to do it. But if someone says, you know what, I'm able to process 100 financial statements a week or a day or something like that, I can quantify if 100 is a number relative to the industry, better than the industry, or anything like that. So most people, when they write the resume, kind of do fluff. And this is where, like, they're not getting response, right? I have a program that I'm doing a webinar on Tuesday called From Resumes to Referrals. It's on Facebook. Just type in From Resumes to Referral. It's nice and easy to find. Where I'll spend 2 hours and I'll go through, here's why no one's talking to you on the ATS. Here's why, like, you had an interview, you thought it went great, but nobody responded to you. You registered with an agency, but they dismissed you before you even started. And I'm going to go through kind of tips of, okay, did you do this? Like your resume. Like, you know, if I speak about resumes, have you ever watched the movie Legally Blonde?
Yes. Yes, I have.
What do you remember what was unique about Elle Wood's resume when she applied to Harvard or when she applied for the internship?
No, to be honest, I don't remember at all.
It was pink and it was scented. Now, when Harvard received this, they're like, it's pink and it's scented, but they remembered it.
Yes, of course they would.
Now, I'm not saying you need a pink scented resume when you apply for a job.
Why not?
But you can add a personality to that. Like if you look at your logo, you know, the way it's written, the gold, it's a signature, it's a brand. If you use the same color in the resume and you have a resume that's all black and white, and then you have one that has a little bit of gold, which one do you think I'm going to look at first?
The gold, yes.
Why? Because the eyes go, ooh, this is different. I like that there's something there. So there's simple little tricks like add a little bit of color, change the font. You know, like the most common fonts are Times New Roman, Arial, and Calibri. But if everybody uses those fonts, you're the exact same as everybody else.
Oh, you're so
and
right.
Nobody notices you. You know, so you get lost in the sea of sameness kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You can add, like, by no means am I a graphic designer, but you can hire one if you want. But like you can go to Word and type in insert text box and put a box in your resume that, again, it breaks the ice. It's a simple little thing, but it gets noticed, right? Same thing with the applicant tracking system. Simple trick. Go in, press spacebar, save it. You're refreshing daily. You know, try to put in more of the technical words in your profession, not the fluffy words. Because let's say if you say that you're hardworking, your definition, Dela, of hardworking and my definition of hardworking might be very different.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that you're not as hardworking as me, or I'm not as hardworking as you? No, because it's relative to the profession, it's relative to the company, and it's relative to kind of your interpretation of it. So, like if I use, let's say, a nurse and a public accountant, during tax season, it's mandatory for an accountant, public accountant, to work like 80 hours a week. So what's hardworking? 100? Whereas in a nurse might work in a shift of 4 hours of overtime because the other nurse was stuck in traffic, for example, and couldn't come. So does that mean that the nurse is not hardworking? No, because there's different stress, there's different responsibilities.
Yes.
So you can't compare an accountant 80 hours work week to a nurse's 40-hour work week, because you're dealing with different things. And again, it's subjective. So stop filling your resume or your interview with these generic, silly words.
You said fluff with the yes.
It is fluff because
yeah.
like let's put it this way. In 20 years of recruiting, I've never once searched for a resume that had the words hardworking, dedicated, committed, or team player with excellent communication skills and excellent interpersonal skills.
Oh my gosh, we all use those. It's like, yeah, you're right. It's
because I'm going to interview you, so I'm going to decide where those words are there.
Yeah.
But I don't care if those words are on your resume. I don't care if those words are like, so like when people are asked, what are your 3 strengths on the job? I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, I'm committed, and I'm team. Really? Like how many people that you go say, I'm lazy, but I'm honest about it, right?
Yeah, honestly. Okay. So now then you typically then, what does you do, Joseph, for people? Someone comes to you because they're not they're not working in their dream job. And so first of all, we got through that. There is a dream job for you and you just haven't landed it yet.
Look, even if you desire to be an entrepreneur, right? Again, I'm emphasizing don't quit your job. Finance your entrepreneurship with your job. Once you've reached a level of entrepreneurship that is kind of paying you as much or more than what you are earning, you can decide what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
But take the steps. Now, if your dream job is, I want a promotion, there's ways of getting a promotion. If your dream job is, you know what, I'm a university graduate, I just want to get into the industry, get my foot in the door, again, don't waste your time on Indeed. So I kind of teach people the A to Z on how to find a job. So whether it's salary negotiations, whether it's LinkedIn profile optimization, whether it's a great resume, my 7 rules to an interview that guarantees any job, and I have some great stories about that. How to network correctly. For some reason, people think that networking is, I need to collect as many business cards as possible. So, oh, Dela, you have a business card, give me a business card, give me a card. They don't even talk to you, they just want the business card. And then they send an email saying, I got your card at networking yesterday, can we have a conversation? And what are you thinking, going, who are you? Do I know you? Why do I care, kind of thing?
Yes.
Right? How to beat the databases in terms of all the applicant tracking system. How to, ask for referrals. How to use social media correctly to get companies to know you. So, like anything that could come up in terms of job finding, I basically offer that as a service. And like I said, I'm launching an online program next week. It's going to be kind of $97 US, and I give you everything. Templates, videos, audio, kind of resources to look for the job. Like $97, you get everything, right? If you want to use me directly, obviously there's a higher fee because I've earned the right to say I'm one of the best at this. But there is how should I say, even for interview, and for those who are interested, from resumes to referral, I'm doing a 2-hour webinar workshop where I'm going to explain, here's things that you're doing wrong, let's say with the applicant tracking system, some of the examples I already gave here. Here's things you're doing wrong with your LinkedIn profile. Here's things you're doing wrong with either the way you network, where you network, or who you network with to not get results. Because if you do it correctly, you'll get results. And there's a level where, again, even on the interview, again, I'm not saying I invented the wheel. for interview. There's plenty of experts there, but you have to ask yourself, okay, have you worked in my industry? Hey, do you know this? I test my systems and my things regularly. So one of the things that, if I may share a story quickly.
Yes, please.
My brother was finishing his third year mechanical engineering, applied for an internship. By the time one of the companies responded, it was going to be more of a paper pusher job, and he already registered for his fourth year classes. So he asked me to cancel the interview. I decided to go in as my brother. I studied economics and business. The only thing I know about mechanical engineering is what I wrote for him on his resume. Okay. My first interview, there was 100 students from 4 major universities in Ontario, Canada. Okay. Within 45 minutes, Human Resource called me back, said, "We love you. We need to come back for a second interview." I was like, all right, let's see how far I could take this. My second interview was with the manager of the department that I'd potentially work with. Now, I spoke the truth about my brother's resume. So my brother was on a team that designed a wheelchair for third world nations that uses a tank chain so it can go on any terrain. Came second in Ontario for the best mechanical engineering project of the year, won $500 from RBC, told the manager I studied thermodynamics and quantum physics. To this day, I have no idea what those are. Okay. Didn't even leave the parking lot. Manager called me back and said, "I adore you. I need to come back for a third and final interview." Out of 100 candidates, I made it to the final 3. I was the first one in at 8:30 in the morning. Manager walked over to me and goes, "Here's your offer letter. The job's yours. All you have to do is pass this mechanical engineering test." I looked at him. I looked at the test. I looked at him. I looked at it. I'm like, I can't do this test. Manager looked at me and goes, "I know you're nervous. Let me help you." He solved the first 3 questions for me. I looked at him, I said, "I am so sorry for wasting your time. I guess I'm a lot more comfortable with the design than I am with the calculation. I am the wrong candidate for this job," because obviously I learned the lingo that I need for the job. The manager followed me to the car and begged me to take the job because I'd interviewed that much better than every other mechanical engineer.
Wow, that's
Now
powerful.
I've done this for IT jobs, for accounting jobs, for law jobs, for marketing jobs, none of which I'm qualified for. But because I write people's resume, I know all the information I need to know, kind of thing. And I know the lingo, I know the terminology. I've been a generalist in recruiting. So I've recruited for, let's say, Apotex Pharmaceutical and, Leo Pharmaceutical, Eli Lilly. So I know the pharmaceutical lingo. I've recruited in construction. I know the construction lingo. I've recruited in IT. I know the IT lingo. So I just learned what's the lingo that's associated with this job, and the rest is my system. I know how to sell it.
Okay, so you're really good at this, okay? So you're good at this. And someone is watching this and thinking, well, you're good at this. What about me? How do I get through?
So, for example, I've made 7 simple rules to get the job in any interview, right? And here's, if I may share another story of an example of somebody using my 7 rules.
Yes.
So when I first started salsa dancing, my dance partner was actually significantly younger than me and was in college for graphic design. And she calls me one day. She's like, "Oh my God, there's this internship at Bell. I really, really, really want it." And I was like, "You really, really want it?" She's like, "Yeah, I'll do anything." I'm like, "Okay, first of all, you got to do everything I tell you." I'm kind of like your Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off, don't ask questions. So I said, first of all, you're not allowed to have a black and white resume because the word graphic and design are in your resume. So we made her resume green. Instead of circles or squares that most people use on a resume, she had like a singularly little kind of like dancing guy, and we made that her bullet points. Like, so she was a barista at Second Cup. I kind of said how barista at Second Cup is graphic design because she drew the latte, pictures that you get kind of thing, right? She sent the resume. 2 weeks go by. She calls me. She goes, "They didn't even call me. You suck." An hour later, they called her. The director said to her, "Listen, we're so sorry we didn't call you earlier. We received 7,400 applications for 20 unpaid internships.
Oh, wow.
Your resume was one of our favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to interview you in 2 days." And they told her, because we had so many applicants, this will be a 3-interview process. So your first interview will be in 2 days. So she called me back. She says, oh my God, they called. What do I do? I'm like, first, apologize, right, for telling me my system doesn't work. Second, I taught her my 7 rules to an interview. I said to her, I want you to go to like Kinko's or Staples or Granitor or wherever and print your 10 best pieces of digital work on the highest quality glossy paper. She did. I reviewed the 7 rules with her. She understood it. Went into the interview 2 days later. 15 minutes into her first interview, they told her there would be 3. The director put down his pen and said, you know what? I've been running this program for 15 years. I have never been so impressed with the candidate as I am with you. You're hired.
Excellent.
Right? He didn't bother with second and third interview. I've had recently, for example, a new immigrant to Canada that from Russia originally came here, is finance background, worked in the US for 2 years. I wrote a resume, helped her with her profile. She got hired as a CFO as her first job in Canada.
Wow.
Right? So understand, new immigrant, like, you don't have Canadian experience is illegal to ask for because it doesn't exist. Since, especially in Canada, it's one of the most multicultural countries in the world. So Canadian experience really means, can you speak English properly? And your resume seems to be very good. I'm worried that you'll do the job better than me and I will lose my job.
Okay, this is like this is fantastic. I can't believe I'm hearing this, because so many very valuable people are not in the right jobs because they think they lack Canadian experience.
This is where it's confidence and being humble go together, right? And I'm going to explain this, and then I'm going to give you an example. So before I decided to become an entrepreneur, and I applied for jobs, and I had any company stupid enough to tell me, well, we think you're overqualified for this job. I would take a deep breath and go, so if I understood you correctly, your company does not want to make more money. And then I shut up. Because when they go, no, I'm like, listen, if you think I'm overqualified for this job, that means I could do the job better than everybody else. And I will make you more money. I will make you look better because I report to you. So do you want to speak to me about this job, or do you still think I'm overqualified? It's amazing how quickly things turn.
It's a fair question.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, in the same respect, when my father first arrived to Canada, my father was fluent in 10 languages. My father was responsible for building all the highways in Ivory Coast in West Africa and did like $1 billion project before anybody understood what $1 billion was. When he came to Canada for 9.5 months, he could not find a job. So he finally went to a small construction company and said, listen, I will work here for free. If for 2.5 months, if during the 2.5 months, my work is not as good as any Canadian project manager, you pay me nothing and you can get rid of me anytime you want. But at the end of 2.5 months, if my work is as good as any Canadian project manager, you pay me for the 2.5 months I've worked and you hire me full time. Within 3 weeks, they made him the senior project manager for the entire company.
Wow.
Right? But it's a level where, like, as new immigrants, like, you have the work ethic, you have the desire to succeed because you came to the country for a better life.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to present, like, you know what? How about I work here for free? Test me out. Let me show you what I can, or give me a case study or project, and let me show you what I can do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important to have that level of humbleness. Mm-hmm. But I'm also going to take it a step forward. Nobody's giving you the chance to be humble because most people apply online. Click, 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 click. You want to get hired, go to the company. Go with your resume. Wait there if you have to all day. Like, I had a friend that graduated again from engineering. Nobody was answering his resume. So he printed a few resumes, chose a few companies he wanted to work with. Went to the first company and said, I want to speak to the director of this department. The receptionist looked at him and said, he's in meetings. He said, okay, I'll wait. And he waited till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 2 o'clock, the director kind of came out and said, what do you want? and he said, listen, I'm a new graduate. I know you don't have any job postings right now, but I want you to personally give you my resume. Here's the project I did in school. I would love a chance to speak to you about being part of your team. He got hired on the spot because he actually took the time to go in person.
Ah.
Right. Now,
so
yes.
People wouldn't do that, Joe, because they'll be too intimidated to do something like that.
Here's an even better trick. So let's say you applied online. Most job postings say, don't call us, we'll call you.
Yes.
Here's how you call them and make sure that you get noticed. So you call the company and say, listen, I've been having issues with my internet. Can you please check if my application went through? So now HR goes to check. Now here's what happened. Remember I said earlier, one job posting gets between, let's say, 350 and 10,000 applicants. So if you're number 1,000, they're never looking at your resume.
Wow.
But you just called and said, my internet crashed or my computer's not working properly. Can you check if my application went through? They checked, yep, it's here. So now you're at the top of the list. You're now number 1, resume, right? Now you have them on the phone. You have HR on the phone, so you can have a conversation with them. So since I have you on the phone, when are you going to start interviewing for this position? Oh, in 2 weeks? Okay. So in 2 weeks, if I don't hear from you, can I call you back to get some feedback on how my resume can be better? You've just asked for permission to speak to them. You're also having them on the phone. You can go, listen, before we hang up, I just want you to know, these are the 2 biggest things I've done in my career that relate to this job. If you gave me an opportunity to do the same for you, you won't regret it. You've just created an opportunity for yourself. Not too many people do it.
No, not too many people do it.
You're right. So this is where, again, it's not that somebody can't find their dream job. It's not that there's no jobs out there. Like, yes, COVID is horrible. A lot of people are depressed. A lot of people are anxious. A lot of people are scrambling. I'm not dismissing that in any way, shape, or form, right? But be a little bit proactive. Be a little bit more resourceful in a sense of not just say, I sent out 1,000 resumes, nobody's responding to me, right? As soon as I hear someone say, I sent out hundreds of resumes, thousands of resumes, I go, your resume sucks and you don't know what you're doing because that's why no one's responding to you. Well, because here's the reality. Like, I know 11,000 people, and the fastest I found people a job is 2 days. I've found 30 people a job in 2 days, and most of them have found the position in their field, including new immigrants, within a month and a half. So clearly there's a community. And the problem is that when you're new to Canada and you don't know, you go to resources like welcome centers, immigration centers, and the people that work there kind of go, here's what we've been told. This is the formula. This is the cookie cutter resume. Here's this, and good luck.
Yeah.
But nobody talks about, okay, you know what? Nobody sees your resume if you're on page 3,000. So every day going to your resume, literally make any small modification and, put a period somewhere, save it. And your resume is a new resume.
This is what I want to say right now. I think it's a good time to say this. I think a lot of us think that we know everything.
Yeah.
We think we know how to do everything. Oh, how hard is making a resume? I don't need to hire someone to help me do that. Here's this. This is really important. I've discovered that there's a coach for everything.
But I'll take it a step better. There's an expert for it. If you go on YouTube and type in cockroach whisperer, there's videos of cockroach whisperers. Right? If that's what you desire as a profession, by all means.
Yes. And that's the thing. Why? Stop making all these mistakes and start hiring the right person to help you get there faster.
But here's the thing, and you said something very, very important. The right person.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that have this mentality of fake it till you make it, right? So you need to be proactive in asking questions like, have you experienced this? Have you experienced that? And I'll use a little bit of my background, if I may, as an example for this.
Yes, please.
If someone comes to me, one of my clients comes to me and says, listen, I suffer from bipolar or schizophrenia. Can you help me write a document to give HR to tell them about my symptoms so that I don't get fired if I have an episode? I can help you with that. I know the language. If someone comes to me and says, can you cure my schizophrenia or my bipolar? My answer is no. I'm not a trained psychologist or a psychotherapist, or, I don't know enough. Now, if you want, I can share with you books. I have lots of them behind me, or resources that I've read that have personally helped me. But I know the limitation. There's a lot of, we'll call it coaches that are kind of, I can coach anything. So I'm a mindset coach and you need help losing weight, but I weigh 350 pounds. I'm going to coach you on losing weight. Now, if the person weighs 700 pounds and is down to 350, by all means, you can coach me on losing weight. But if you weigh 350 because that's your choice of lifestyle and you're going to coach me to be fit, I have some questions on that kind of thing.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Get the right.
So there's a lot of, let's say, resume writers there. And there's a lot of people that go, it's pretty easy. I go on Google, I find a few keywords and it's a resume, right? You have to understand, like, I'm not by any means saying I'm the only expert. There's tons of excellent experts throughout. But you have to be diligent to kind of go, okay, have you worked with this? Have you worked with that? Have you dealt with this? What's your background? Just because someone's, let's say, and I'm going to say it this way. If you were to ask 5 recruiting firms what makes a good resume, you'll probably get 20 different opinions.
Sure.
The reason I say 20 because this client might like it this way. This client likes it this way. This client likes it this way. This industry is this way. This industry is that way, right? If you ask someone who's in leadership, director and above in a company, what makes a good resume? Again, just because they've interviewed candidates to work for them, they might have a sense of things that they like, but they don't necessarily know how the applicant tracking systems work. They don't necessarily know, other than what they like, what is or makes a difference in the way you get noticed, right? So there's a lot of little things that this is where, yes, hire the expert. And for those of you who are curious, like I said, I'm running a webinar from resumes to referral. It's on Facebook. It's a page. Kind of join the page. There's information there, right? But I want to give you everything. So you know what? Here's the employment agencies that you need to register. Here's how many agencies you need to register. Here's why you need to register with them. And here's why you need to register with more than one. Because what happens if they don't like you? And you've only registered with one? You've kind of cut a resource that can help you. People that do LinkedIn and go on LinkedIn, I've worked here from this date to this date. Okay, great. That means I know what you do there, right? It's a level where you have to understand anything's possible. I had recently a guy from New Jersey who was a product manager in social media, told me that he hired me. I wrote his resume. I did his LinkedIn profile. Within 2 weeks, Google, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook called him for an interview.
Wow.
So, okay. Clearly my resume worked. Clearly what I did on LinkedIn worked, right? But if you're going to a career coach, like, ask them, how many people have you helped? What's the success rate? Like, are they finding a job in a month or are they finding a job in 6 months? Because if they're finding a job in 6 months, that's what most people do on their own anyhow. Mm-hmm. You're paying an expert to get you there faster and better.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and again, I'm going to acknowledge Robert more because I was like, hey, Robert, I want to get the message out there. Can you recommend any podcasts for me? He's like, you know what? Speak to Dela. She's awesome. It's a great podcast. You should do it.
Thank you.
But instead of me looking up podcasts and trying to figure out, and Robert I trust his reputation. I trust what he does, So when he recommended, I went, okay, I will go where you recommend because it's easier for me. And it kind of, you're saving me time, you're saving me energy, you're saving me money to spend hours researching and trying to figure out where I might be able to share my message kind of thing, right? So it's the same thing. Like, by all means, ask for expertise, but make sure that the expertise has an understanding or knowledge of your industry, has a track record of industry. Because again, I don't want people to be burned by the fake it till you make it.
Yes.
Right. Like I use it and I'll use, with no disrespect to anybody in this profession, but financial advisors, for example. I go to networking events probably 3 times a week, if not more. And financial advisors meet me and go, hey, can we have a conversation about financial advice? I go, great. But before we do, you need to answer one of these 3 questions. Number 1, what is your net worth? Now, if a financial advisor goes, excuse me, that's rude. Like there, I said, listen, if you're struggling to make rent and I'm ready to invest $1 million, how are you going to advise me on my money when you haven't made $1 million?
Hey, that's a fair question.
But it's a level where I'm not dismissing somebody starting out in the industry. I'm just simply saying there. The second question I ask, if they don't want to answer that question, is what is your asset under management right now? And how much is your biggest client invested with you? And I'm not talking life insurance, I'm talking in investments. Because if your biggest client's invested $10,000 with you, and I'm willing to give you a lot more money, chances are you haven't experienced somebody that has more money to kind of know how to handle it. And the third thing is, especially since I used to work in finance and I was a licensed stock trader, I go, do you know anything more than mutual funds and life insurance? Do you know anything about derivatives, options, foreign exchange, cryptocurrency? Because I have certification in that. So if you're going to be my financial advisor, I want to know that you know more than me, or at least as much as me, where because I'm not necessarily actively in the financial world right now, you can have an intelligent conversation, tells me what it is. No different with, like my LinkedIn, because I'm an open networker, I probably get 50 emails a day telling me that they can optimize my website and my SEO but they don't know anything about me. They just automatic, people make the same mistake, like hire me. And they haven't built any rapport. They haven't built anything like that. Now, again, I'm not very active on my Instagram. I definitely need to do better. But because I had other things to do, my wife helped me with my Instagram. And we took it from 0 followers to 200 followers, which anybody can kind of do. By no means is something to brag about. But if someone says, I can optimize your social media, then tell me you took let's say Instagram account from 0 followers to 1 million followers in a year, for example. Then you got my attention, or a number that's significant enough that I can go, oh, you have 100,000 followers and you didn't buy bots that are automatic that kind of populate and people know that they're bots. Then yeah, you got my attention. But if you're telling me that you're an SEO expert because you're an SEO expert because you took a course, great.
Show me the results.
Even when I started dancing, I had salsa dancing. You know how many guys, especially guys, would take like one course in salsa dancing and then hand out business cards to women saying, hey, I'm an instructor. I'll give you free lessons. You want free lessons? You want free lessons in dancing?
Is that how you got your wife, Joe?
No, I was actually matched with my wife. My mother and my grandmother-in-law set us up, kind of thing.
That's cool.
But again, it's a level where in the model of there is resources, like you can go and find out who the instructors are. Mm-hmm. You can look at have they competed? Have they performed? Have they this? Because if they have, they'll brag about it, right? Because human beings, we love to talk about how good you are. It's no different from finding a job. Again, if you're at a networking event, let's say, Dela, let me ask you this. Let's say you and I are going to a networking event. We meet a VP of something. And you say to the VP, hi, you're a VP. I need a job. Okay. Now, I come to the conversation and say, hi, so you're a VP at this company. Tell me what made you so successful. Okay. Now, you send an email the next day saying, hey, I met you at the networking event. Here's my resume. Can we discuss a job? I send him an email saying, hi, we met at the networking event. I asked you about what made you so successful. Which one do you think he's going to respond to faster?
Yeah,
or respond to, period?
Yeah. Well, probably right? Me, because I look better, but...
Well, if you attach a picture in your email, absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
No, you're so right.
I can't even compete with that. Huh?
No, but you're so right. Apart from joking, people do love to talk about themselves. And so, yeah, of course, that would make an impression. That's how people can relate to each other.
The majority of people don't do this when it comes to
yes.
getting a job. Like, I remember one of my friends and mentor, his name is Barry Spilchuk. He wrote The Cup of Chicken Soup for the Soul that sold like 550,000 copies worldwide. And he shared the story with me, and I tell the story now as if it's my own. So he's originally from North Bay, and there's like one major mall in North Bay. And there was a security guard there that would come in every day 15, 20 minutes early, would always stay extra, was always smiling, high energy, excited there. If he saw garbage on the floor, he would go and pick it up. If customers had a lot of bags, he would help them carry the bags to their car. If the storekeepers were bringing in new merchandise, he helped them carry the merchandise, and especially if the mall wasn't open. Now, the owners of the mall saw this and would look at him every day. And they called him into the office and say, "Why do you do this?" And the security guard said, "Listen, I'm here for at least 8 hours a day. I might as well enjoy the experience. I might as well choose to be happy. I don't want to see garbage in my house all over the floor. I don't want to see it in my work," kind of thing. They were so impressed with his mindset that they offered to pay for his entire education, including doing an MBA, so that he can come back and manage the entire mall for them.
Wow.
Right? Now, here's the thing. The reality is the majority of people are lazy and send jobs online and wait for the company to call them. They don't do any of the things that get them noticed. They're not speaking to the right people. They're not optimizing their LinkedIn. They're not building relationships with recruiters. They're not networking correctly, because they go to network, I need business card. Where's the business card? Right? And it's like, okay, why? Like, take the time to have a conversation with somebody, get to know them a little bit, tie in. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but I wear purple. I wore purple. My business card, all my stuff is purple, right? It's a signature. Why? Because when I send an email to a company or an executive I met, I say, "I'm the guy with the purple shirt that talked to you about how successful you are." So now, even if they don't remember my name, they'll remember the purple shirt. Yeah. So have a brand. So for women, it's a lot easier because you guys can wear earrings, a pin or brooch, a scarf, a hat, shoes that are a certain style or whatever. Men have less choice. Like, you can wear a funny tie, you can wear a fedora, you can wear a typical, like that. It's not common, but people remember it because it's different than everybody else. In my case, it's purple. I go to every networking event wearing purple, right? And it's my signature. My business cards are purple. Everything's purple. It ties in. It's part of the branding. Like, you have beautiful branding with, your logo and everything like that. Even behind you, like the Dela's voice, it's in the same colors, right?
Yes.
I pay attention to that because it helps me remember this is Dela. So, like, even if I don't remember, let's say, your name, and someone goes, "Hey, podcast," I'm like, wait, something voice, but it's in gold. So look on Facebook, something voice in gold, and you'll come. And then someone goes, "Oh, is it Dela's voice?" "Yes, that's the one," or whatever. Like, not necessarily that I forget your name, but I'm just using that as an example of signature and branding. And so, again, when you're finding a job, it's not just the resume. It's not just an interview. In fact, most people don't get to the interview. And there's very big companies that offer a lot of fluff as well. And so I want to kind of eliminate that and go, listen, you want to get hired in your profession? I don't care what your profession is, right? This is the system. These are the tools. These are the resources you need to use. If you choose not to use the resources, if you choose to kind of there, you won't succeed, which is why, again, I'm very excited about my webinar on Tuesday.
So is this a free webinar, Joseph?
So the cost for the webinar is $22, which is practical.
Okay, good. So
right? It's $22 from resumes to referrals. It's a Facebook page, basically, right? And again, I will give a lot of free information that most people probably have never thought of or never done. And then, those that are interested in kind of doing the full program, it will be less than $120 for the program. So give you everything. To give you everything.
So I put the link to the webinar in the comment section for people to go.
You actually put my personal group. If you look on Facebook, it's called From Resumes to Referral. It's not a group; it's a page.
Yes. So I
Right.
apologize. That's the group that I put on there.
That's my own personal group. That once people are kind of part of my system, I share resources with them. I give them extra. So so for example, one of the gifts that there'll be several giveaways in this webinar for $22 from Resumes to Referral. But for example, I'm going to give away one of my books for free. I'm going to be giving away a 15-page. Here's how you can work part-time from home in things that you didn't think could make you money, like being a mystery shopper, like doing sampling. Like if you go to Costco, you know, the samplers.
Yes.
They actually make this in money, like being a virtual assistant for people, like transcribing for celebrities or like radio shows that don't have time to do it themselves. So I kind of given you the gamut and I tell you what the pay range is for it. So like in the mystery shopping, for example, one of the top ones in Canada is called premierservice.ca. No, I don't have any affiliations with them. I've used the service, but if somebody is, let's say, either vapes or is a smoker, you could be getting paid between $200 and $900 to go to a vape shop. So if you hit 5 of those in a day, in a week, or whatever, you just made an extra $3,000.
Oh dear. Okay, we're not sponsoring vaping by no means.
No, I'm not, but I'm just using that as an example. So there is, like, for example, you need to fill up gas for your car. They'll pay you between $17 to, let's say, $30 to fill up a minimum of $10 of gas. But instead of paying at the machine, you go inside and you speak to the clerk there because they have specific questions to make sure that the person had good service. So you fill $10 worth of gas and you get $20 for spending 10 minutes to answer 3 questions.
This is really cool.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources that you have to help people.
Right. So I tried to kind of create a program where I go, I understand that the hardest thing for most people is where do I start? Yes. And how do I get there? So I've kind of said, here's everything. Like, here's all of the employment agencies that are the big ones. Mm-hmm. But don't just focus on the big ones. Let's say do a Google search on ones that are local or industry specific.
Yes.
Why? Because you want to balance kind of big ones with small ones. And I get into that into the webinar why. Right? Here's the top 300 job finding sites. Now, most people apply on Indeed because it's the biggest and the easiest. But some companies will go, well, everybody uses Indeed, so we're not going to look at the resume from Indeed. But if you use something like, let's say, even Glassdoor, which is also one of the big ones, or you use Career Builder, which is one of the big ones, or you use, let's say, allstarjobs.com or wowjobs.com, a company will go, wow, they researched Wow Jobs. Mm-hmm. Not too many people know about that. Let's interview that person first.
I see. Yeah.
So now you increase your chances of using a database. So it's about increasing it. Again, LinkedIn, the way that you communicate on LinkedIn, the way that you follow up on LinkedIn, the way that your profile is written, all of that adds up. All of that is part and parcel of getting notice, getting success, getting results, right? Networking. It's not just networking is a good idea, you'll get a job. It's first of all, how are you branding yourself? What is your image that you want to portray? Make sure it's the same every single time you go networking. Mm-hmm. You know, say this instead of this. Focus on this instead of this. Follow up this way, not this way.
That's amazing.
Right?
So
training.
That's so good. It's all in the training. That's so good.
Again, I've spent 25,000 hours mastering everything there is to know about job finding.
And you only need 10,000.
I only need 10,000, but I spent 25,000. And with the exception of a few unusual Google interview questions, right? Because they're notorious. Like at a certain point in Google history, they used to ask, let's say, candidates, how do you weigh your head? Just to see how people would react to a question like that.
Yeah.
Now, with the exception of questions like that are so off the beaten path kind of thing, there isn't an interview question I don't know how to answer. And in fact, I've put a system that's 7 simple rules that answers 98% of interview questions, guaranteed. Right? And like I said, I've done it a few times. I've tested it a few times. I continue to test it because I want to make sure that what I'm saying works. So even now with COVID, not only have I had new immigrants that have helped get a job in their profession within, let's say, a month of COVID, but again, I've tested it where I apply for something and go, let's just see if they respond. Let's just, not that I necessarily want the job, but I'm just testing that the formulation works, the psychology works. And that's where there's a combination where, again, you said it earlier. Look, part of my 25,000 hours is that if you're going to be unemployed for 6 months and you're going to lose salary, it's going to cause you stress. It's going to cause you problems with your family. You're going to be, not sleeping at night. And you pay a small fee to get hired in a month and a half.
Yes.
That's 5 months of salary that I'm saving you or giving you, basically. That's, being able to sleep at night and not suffering from anxiety or depression or this because your identity is back. Yes. Even if it's not necessarily your dream job, but it's a job in your profession, not a minimum wage job that is just like for the sake of having a job kind of thing, right? And I'm very, very passionate because I've experienced this in multiple ways, in a sense that I've had, like, even in my recruiting business, candidates that came to me and were like, no one's answering me. No one's helping me. And, like I had an individual that was relatively new to Canada, originally from China. I started the interview. I asked him, what do you like most about accounting? He said, accounts receivable, accounts payable, reconciliation. I'm like, okay. What do you like the least about accounting? Accounts receivable, accounts payable, reconciliation.
Yeah, same thing.
All right. What's the hardest part about accounting? Accounts receivable, accounts payable, reconciliation. What's the easiest part about accounting? Accounts receivable, accounts. Now, that's the only thing he memorized to say. Mm-hmm. And I stopped the interview. I said, listen, no one will hire you as an accountant if you don't speak basic English. Unless you want to work for a Chinese company where they're speaking Cantonese or Mandarin, like, if you don't improve your English, no one will speak to you. Mm-hmm. He came back to me 6 months later and said, I just took 2 English courses. Can you please test my English? I only want to work with you because you were the only recruiter that was honest with me. I got him a job basically 2 weeks later after he came back to me, right? And he didn't have any experience, but his experience from China, I was able to present it to my clients and say, his English is good enough that he will do great work for you.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing.
A lot of people too, Joe. That's a thing, right? You have a big network, so because you've been in this for a long time, so you know a lot of people.
But it's not just about the network; it's just about human decency. It's about like if I use we talked a little bit before the interview started. Like, obviously, you have a Persian background, so here's the thing. In anything in life, if I were to say, what's a good restaurant? Like, what's a good Persian restaurant? Mm-hmm. It's very different when a Persian tells me what a good Persian restaurant is versus someone who's not Persian telling me what a good Persian restaurant is.
Of course.
Right? And Persian food is extremely tasty and it's very good. But if I want to know what good Persian food is, I ask Persians. If you're not cooking at home, where do you go for food?
Yes.
Right? It's the same thing. You have friends that tell you about movies and tell you about this. Like, if you trust your friend, you'll kind of go to what they say. If you don't know them, you might ask around if the recommendation is good. Now, if it's something like a movie, most people don't care because movie is what, $20. If it's a movie you didn't like, it's like, okay, whatever. It was a movie, it was an outing kind of thing. But that's why I also related to, like, the job or any expert, right? Like, you've been podcasting for a while. You clearly have a track record. So if I came to you and said, hey, I've noticed that you've done this many episodes, you have this many following, can you give me some tips? Can you give me some insights on podcasting? You have credibility. If I went to somebody who's done one podcast and said, can you teach me about podcasting? Unless they got 1 million views on their first podcast, like, just because they started doing it doesn't automatically make them an expert. You have to kind of recognize the amount of work, the amount of time, the amount of energy, the amount of promotion that goes into, let's say, running a podcast.
Yes.
Right. And I so appreciate what you do, Dela, because, you know, it's not like, okay, I made a poster and it's done. There's a lot more work that goes into it. And a lot of people don't understand that it's not about the podcast. It's about how the podcast is being promoted, how the podcast is being shared. Right. No different in job finding. It's funny because I've actually stopped responding to certain groups where people go, oh, I write resumes, and automatically people go, oh, I know how to write. I can write your resume. I had this where I probably lost. Like, I had an ex-girlfriend that was working part-time at Walmart and was afraid to ask for a full-time job because Walmart really needed her to stock the shelves in that department. Right? Never had a full-time job. And after we broke up, she started dating somebody who was more entrepreneurial. And she decided she's going to write resumes and charge $100. And I looked at her and go, you've never had a real job. You don't even have a full-time job now. How are you writing resumes? She goes, it's easy. You go on Google, you find keywords, and it's a resume. I said, this is the problem. It's people like you that don't know anything about the algorithms of a resume that charge $100. And then when I charge significantly more than that, because I've earned the right to say, switch careers 9 times, jobs 18 times, been recruiting for nearly 20 years, coached 11,000 people, wrote books on it, know what I'm doing, but people have been burned by the $100, so they don't want my services anymore.
I see.
Right. And again, I'm not dismissing other experts. By all means, ask, but make sure you know if they can produce results that are fast enough, good enough, and kind of related to what you're working or doing.
That's right.
Great. And that's why you need to be proactive, ask questions, you know.
That's right. Yes. Take a personal responsibility, people. That's your personal responsibility. Find the right.
And this is where, again,
we ran out of time like 13 minutes ago. And but I mean, you're awesome. I wish we had more time. This is what happens when you have fun, right? It just
absolutely.
You're so
I've had a blast. Thank you.
But I want to make sure that we redirect people to your seminar, to your webinar. I beg your pardon. And here's the address is right there on the page. It's on Facebook, and it's called From Resume to Referrals. And if you just go look for that on Facebook, you'll find it. It's really easy. I found it really quick. But anyways, that's the address if you want to copy that down. This program is for you. If you are anxious from job loss due to COVID-19, if you're frustrated with the lack of response to your job applications, if you are overqualified, if you're frustrated that you haven't gotten the job that you really want, if you are unhappy with your current employer, if you're ready for a career change, I know so many people who are in these different categories. And so please reach out to this man who has made this his career, helping over 11,000 people get their dream job. So with that, Joseph, I want to give you 1 more minute to leave whatever you want, and then we're out of here.
So first of all, Dela, thank you again for letting me ramble and share a little bit of my wisdom. It's been a real joy. I highly recommend for $22 From Resumes to Referral. It's going to be worth your time because I will really give you insights on how to start being more successful. Beyond that, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn, Joseph Stetter. You can find me on most of the social media. I do try to respond pretty quickly. And again, create that opportunity for people to kind of go, oh yeah, whether, new immigrant, anything, I can get anybody hired anytime. And I'm that confident in it that I put a guarantee on it, like guarantee results.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is great. Right? You just gave people a guarantee, Joseph.
I give a guarantee because I guarantee you'll be interviewed. I guarantee you'll get noticed because my system cannot fail as long as you're willing to do the work I tell you to do.
Thank you so much for making lives better. Honestly, there's such a good feeling about this, right? There's so much hope in this. Like I just appreciate that so much. Thank you very much for the hard work.
Thank you for having me.
You know what? It just shows that you are such a passionate person about what you do. And it just shows. Like, I wish for everyone who watches this and who has the slightest doubt that, there's something better out there for them, reach out to Joseph Stetter and let him help you find your dream job. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, Joseph, hopefully in the very near future.
Anytime you want, I would be honored to come back and share wisdom with you, Dela.
Thank you. Good luck on the webinar. Again, from resume to referrals, and he's got so much to offer people. Thank you again. And for everyone who's been with us tonight, please share this talk with anyone who you think might benefit from this information. It's fantastic. We're always learning. I learned that if you go on LinkedIn and press the space bar on your resume, so spacebar and then refresh, it will bring your resume up to the top.
No, so not on LinkedIn necessarily, on the databases.
Okay.
On the databases like Indeed, you have a saved resume there. So go into your saved resume, press space, save it, it refreshes your resume as a better resume or a newer resume for employers to see your resume.
Just like that. Bada bing, bada
Just like that.
Thank you, Joe.
My pleasure.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching us again. This has been another Dela's Voice, hoping to spark your soul. Take care. Till next time.